Right then, lads and lasses, welcome back to 100% Mags as Newcastle United return to Champions League action as we take on Atletico Bilbao at St James's Park. And of course, we are no strangers to these guys. They are our friends from Spain. We, of course, played them for the very first time in 1994 in the UEFA Cup. They have returned, of course, twice before to St James's Park, of course, in 2001. For a testimonial for Rob Lee, where, of course, they were triumphant in that game 1-0. And, of course, a friendly in July of 2022, where we, of course, won 2-1 against them in that game. And, of course, we go into this game against them on Wednesday night, sitting 8th place in the new league phase for the Champions League. It was new, of course, last season. First time we've had the chance to play in this new format, and I've got to say I am really impressed with the way we've been playing in Europe. Yes, we didn't win the game against Barcelona, but we did put in a pretty good performance. And of course, since that game, we have beaten Union Saint-Gilles, of course, in Belgium quite convincingly. And then, of course, the game against Benfica at St James's Park was an absolutely amazing performance as well. So I'd hope that we'll go into this game, of course, and do similar to the Union Saint-Gilles and the Benfica games and come away with the win and push ourselves further up that Champions League table. Like I say, we're currently sitting 8th at the moment. Barcelona's sitting behind we're in 9th place. Liverpool's behind we're in 9th place. Chelsea and a bunch of other teams are behind we're as well. And most of the teams that we've got left to play are actually behind we're in the Champions League. The only one that isn't is PSG, who are sitting, of course, top of that Champions League table with 9 points, with them, of course, picking up 3 straight wins in a row in the Champions League so far already. Now, looking at it, what do we know about Athletic Bilbao? Well, Athletic Bilbao, of course, will be coming into this one after beating Quarabag 3-1 at home. They come here fighting to stay in contention as well after defeats to Arsenal and Dortmund. So for us, it's about the momentum. Basically, we've just got to keep that momentum going, like I've said. If we can do what we did in the Union Saint-Gilles game and the Benfica game against Atletico Bilbao, then we have every chance of making it through to that next round of course, the Champions League, the knockout rounds of the Champions League. And we're halfway through now, the league phase, so we're getting there. We are starting to see, what this format looks like for us Newcastle United fans. And I've got to say, like I've said already, I am pretty impressed with the way we are playing in this Champions League this season. Much better than what we had to deal with the last time around when we got the group of death, the toughest group to ever be dished out by UEFA. And of course, we did pretty well in that, only getting screwed by a Marciniak decision, which we're seeing what he was like in the officiating in the game against Benfica. Didn't even get a chance to try and screw over in that game because we were just far too superior to Benfica in that game. But looking at it, we've looked really solid recently away from the Premier League. The away games in the Premier League haven't been our biggest suit this season, and that game against West Ham obviously will want to bounce back straight away from that. A lot of people criticising my thoughts on that game last night. A lot of people coming with hate towards my thoughts on that game last night as well. As I record this the very next day on the Monday. And I've got to say, everybody's entitled to their opinion, on what they think. And I'm entitled to my opinion as well. I'm not criticising anybody's opinions, but I do think that referee was really sketchy. And if, he had have allowed the play to go on with Sandro Tonali, right, when he went down, if he hadn't have pulled it back for the free kick, he had have allowed it to play on, then, we would have seen, Murphy coming away with another goal in that game. And who knows, that might have put the game to bed right there and then. It could just purely be a different story altogether by that. But that's done and dusted now. We can't change that result. So what we've got to do is we've got to go into this game on Wednesday night, show what we're made of once again, and show why, you know, that game against West Ham was nothing but a blip on, you know, this season. And we go ahead from there. Looking at it, Tonali, of course, will be in the midfield. Bruno will be in the midfield. Big Joe will be in the midfield. I wouldn't expect Eddie to change too much from the squad. Obviously, we're going to see the likes of Trippier maybe coming back into the squad. He was ill, so that was why Kraft ended up going in at right back in the game against West Ham. And I've got to say, he didn't do good at all, to be honest. Emil Kraft, I thought he was, you know, well off it, but the guy hasn't played for about 18 months. You know, that game against Spurs in the Cup was his first game back in ages. So it can be, you know, understood that he was going to be off of it in the game against West Ham. But hopefully we'll see Kieran Trippier coming back into that right back position. We do have a massive boost, however, in the news that Lewis Hall will be available for selection, which that means that we could possibly see Lewis Hall moving into that left back position, which means Dan Burn would possibly be going back into the centre backs. But at the moment, we do see, you know, Mali Chow and Sven Botman doing really well. Unfortunately, Sven Botman, of course, with that unfortunate moment in the game against West Ham, where, of course, he scored the own goal. But other than that, you know, they've been a really solid back line for us in that centre-back pairing of Mali Chow and Sven Botman. So I don't see how Eddie's going to be able to dislodge them. But we'll wait and see, of course, on Wednesday night for the team lineup, see, you know, how Eddie approaches this game. But I do think we will see, you know, Lewis Hall coming back into the squad and back into contention to the team, you know, especially with him being available. Might not start, he may come off the bench, but it is nice to know that we do have our literal left back in the squad. And Tino Livramento isn't that far away, as is Johan Wissa as well, not very far away from being fully fit and ready to go for Newcastle United. And of course, Johan Wissa hopefully getting his first game coming in the days ahead, when he does eventually come back. It will take time. Eddie said in the press conferences that he hasn't had a pre-season, so they are going to take their time and try and slowly integrate him into the lineup. But once he's fully integrated, once he's fully up to code, up to fitness, you know, we're going to be seeing some really good attacking qualities from Johan Wissa. This is a lad and a guy, you know, that knows what he's doing. He's played in the Premier League for many, many years. And a lot of people are criticising, you know, with the way Newcastle have played of late in the attacking side of things. And they've criticised a lot of stuff, but they're failing to forget that, you know, Newcastle haven't had our main striker up top. Nick Voltemada is doing well, really, really well. But that lad was not brought in to be the main out-and-out striker. He was brought in to be, you know, a backup to the main striker. He was brought in to be that number 10 role, playing off of the striker. And that was the whole purpose of bringing Nick Voltemada in. And we've seen that, you know, already with the way he's linked up play, the way he's controlled it, the way he's compressed the team, the way he's brought, you know, the ball in and took the sting off the ball and then passed it off and distributed it out to the left, distributed out to the right, and just got the ball around. He's chipped in with goals. He's done, you know, an amazing job, but he was never meant to be the out-and-out striker. That was always Johan Wissa, and that is what we're missing at the moment. And once we see Johan Wissa, you know, fit and fully ready to play, then we will start seeing, you know, the real attack that is intended this season. At the end of the day, it was always going to be a tough one, trying to replace somebody like Alexander Isak, who, you know, could score 25 goals in a season. it was always going to be a tough one to do that. So, as I've said in previous videos, we've got two people to come in and try and make up them numbers of Alexander Isak, because that's the best that we could do with what we've got at our disposal. It was always going to be tough to go out there and find somebody that could produce that. And he's not even producing it at Liverpool, let's face it. But let us know your thoughts, of course, down in the comments below. This game against Atletico Bilbao, it's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be a tough game for sure. But I think we will have enough in the tank, even with the injury problems that we've got and the players that are out at the moment. I think we do still have enough there, enough quality there to get that cutting edge in this game against Atletico Bilbao. And I'm going to go for Newcastle to come away with a tight scoreline. I'm going to go Newcastle to come away with a 2-1 win against Atletico Bilbao. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Until next time, hit that like, share, subscribe to the channel, and to any Atletico Bilbao fans that are watching, let us know your thoughts also down in the comments below. Until next time, how are the lads?